Welcome to I Feel Like.
Your ultimate guide to navigating life as a young adult.
We're your hosts,
Anna,
Dan,
and Evan.
And we're here to share our experiences and provide advice on everything from surviving college and forming relationships,
the situational etiquette, and maintaining a social life.
I feel like it's time to start the podcast.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of I Feel Like. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about group projects, all of their ups and downs, the process from picking groups and distributing work to ensuring accountability, and just our overall opinions through our own experiences working with group projects.
Hey, I feel like with our other topics, I feel like there's just so much to cover already, and I feel like we're going to run out of time, so we're just going to jump into group projects. And I think this topic is so relatable because I think who hasn't done a group project? Like you must have done one in school, in high school, in college, whatever. I'm sure you've done one. So I think we all have stories to tell,
I think we can all agree that they're the worst part of school.
They were the worst part of high school because I feel like they never went right in high school, but like in college, fine, whatever. Like
I
feel like I've
stories
had
about how
worse
they've gone wrong in college.
I feel like I've had worse experiences in college than high school.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. But we can get into all of that.
Well, yeah. I think the first thing that comes to mind when thinking of group projects is like picking your group because that's kind of the first step. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends because sometimes you don't get a choice. The
Oh my
teacher
God.
just assigns it,
That is
so
the
you're
worst.
stuck with what you get.
Like PSA, the teachers don't assign groups. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Because haven't you ever had a situation where you're like, please assign a group? Okay, there's two cases. If the class is completely new and I don't want to go around meeting people, please assign me a group, right?
Yeah, I think like in a college situation where the class is probably a little bit bigger and it's not like you've grown up with these kids in high school and you know them. I think in that case, I mean, I don't want to have the pressure of, I don't know these people, let me try to get a good group. And then if you pick a bad group, it's like, oh, it's on me. But with the teacher, if it's like they give you a group, you can be like, it's not my fault. They gave me a bad group.
I definitely agree with that because I think that a lot of my group projects that are probably some of my worst group projects, like most of them are groups that I picked, but maybe I'm just not really considering groups that the teacher picked because like, oh, I don't consider that my fault.
I was in your group one time. Was that one of your worst experiences?
No comment.
I was in your group a number of times.
I'm kidding. Anna was great at group projects.
Like once you start into the class, then yes, teachers stop it, like cut off, Like I'm sure there's that kid that's like, oh my God, like I hate the people I'm working with and I just need an out and I wish the teacher would pick, but I just can't relate to that. You know what I mean? Like after the first day, I'm comfortable enough, I'll make the move and I'm picking this good group,
I think that also picking groups, like out of all of the parts of group projects, the picking groups part isn't the make or break it. I don't think I think that, yeah, sure, it's what you're working with baseline, but like I think, and I'm sure we'll get into this too, but being a good group member is making sure that everyone else is kind of doing their part too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that picking groups is like a good way at the beginning to assess like, oh, it's like this is how much effort I'm gonna have to put in and things like that. But I don't think that that's the end all be all for group projects.
I guess it also depends on like the assignment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And how tough that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we could definitely spend time talking about that and like is it a presentation? Is it not a presentation? Like the different kind of people that would be good in those cases, I guess.
I was just going to say that I hate group projects that don't need to be group projects.
Right. When teachers try to like unnecessarily foster collaboration and get you working with your peers. It's just, I think it really is a hassle.
And yeah, because it'll be like, if it's like a whole presentation, right? Like a 20-page paper, sure, whatever. But if it's like a 2-sided worksheet or something, and it's like, okay, work together with your group and bring it back next week. It's like, first of all, what are we doing on this one hard copy sheet that all 4 of us now have to share? Then we have to meet up, and that's a whole
I know, outside of school.
Group projects, and this is just a general note, I think, to teachers, group projects should be done, or at least they should be given time to be done in school, because everyone, especially as you get older in like high school and college, you will have really busy schedules for the most part. So it's rare, I think, at least, to find a time where everyone will be free at once to just kind of drop everything and work on this one group project that you decided to assign.
Well, even if people, I mean, yeah, I guess some people are busy with schedules, but I think I just noticed a lot of times people are just not willing to make the time outside of class. Like recently in a college class I took, it was basically like this huge group project. We formed teams in like week 1, and then at the end of the semester, we wrote like a paper and did a presentation. So this spanned the entire semester. And figuring out a time to meet with these people was the hardest thing ever. Like people would cancel 5 minutes before. Like, sorry, I got to eat dinner right now. It's like, that can't wait. This is the 15-minute meeting. You can't push back your dinner 15 minutes. Or like you suddenly remember that you're driving back from Rhode Island and you're not going to make it. Like, so it's like, it's like, I don't know. It's like people are not willing to
like if you
find a time to do it.
I understand that the teacher can't give you the whole class, but like you need to give us at least time to like plan out what we could do once we're apart, you know, like the 15 minutes. Like you gotta give us something to work with, because I think it's unreasonable to ask of us to do it all outside of work.
No, yeah, definitely. I've had group projects where it's just like we'll just get an email or something from a teacher and be like, this is your group, it's due next week. And like literally all I have are these kids' emails. Half the times they don't even respond if someone sends an email. So it's
that's the worst too, when you actually have to like track someone down. And especially with school being online, I think it is harder. It's like, okay, here's my number, I guess. I don't know who you are. We never see each other face to face, but I hope you answer your phone. And I think with like the online group projects, it's like, okay, I sent this text 9 hours ago. You're telling me you haven't been on your phone in the past 9 hours under lockdown, and you can't respond to me. And I don't want to have to be, okay, let me check every hour. I need an answer. I'm not going to sit here and wait by my phone for you to answer and go through like, should I send another message? Like if we were in person, we could just say it face to face and get your answer in a second.
And no one wants to be the person that's like
a nag. Nobody wants to be the group nag.
Like I hate it when people over text in like our group chat, and then I hate being the one also who over texts too. So there's just do the work. Like
I mean, I don't understand people's motivation for not doing the work though, you know? Like doesn't it hurt us all?
Maybe it's just because we're people who do work in group projects. So I'm sure there are people who just kind of like leech off of other people in the group, I guess. But does that really work that often for people?
I don't know.
That's what I wonder. Because
it must.
Yeah, or else they wouldn't do it. I don't know. I think like it's not like they're going to do absolutely nothing, but I guess they figure maybe I won't have to do as much, or I can get away with kind of just doing the bare minimum, and then someone else will clean it up for me, or I'm not really sure.
I also hate, and this is kind of just a more overall thing, but I hate the fact that group projects, like a lot of the times, the work is something that I could do alone, like individually in like 2-3 hours. But instead I have to wait for these people. And now it takes like a week and I can't just like take it off of my list of things to do, things like that.
I think one of the biggest things that annoys me with group projects is, I guess if it's a big assignment, it does help to individually not have to do as much. But I feel like a lot of time is wasted between like the communication of who's going to do what, waiting for everyone to finish their part, coming together as a group, looking at what we have, then figuring out what we're going to do next. Like, I think that does take a lot of time.
Yeah. I think that an important thing kind of to go off from there would be kind of just group accountability, making sure that like the people in your group are kind of like doing the work that we all agreed upon that we would do. So I feel like for me, I have like my kind of individual ways that I kind of make sure that my group members are accountable, but like What are like other strategies, I guess? Because I feel like mine isn't always the most useful.
That's tough. I feel like
that is tough. Well, I also think
I'm trying to think of an answer though.
I think you're from my experience working with you, I think you are a little bit more of like, I don't know if I want to say like you're more like a natural leader, but I think when it comes to group projects, you're very like on top of things and you have like a very clear kind of like timetable in your head that you enforce a lot. Whereas I think I'm not always like that in a group project. Like I don't necessarily always like telling people like this is what we have to do and kind of being that person to enforce a timeline and hold people accountable. So I don't really know that I have a strategy for that because I try to avoid it.
I think for that, just to kind of give feedback to Anna's example.
So now you're going to give me correction on how to be the leader of a group project.
No, I'm just saying for the one example that I know that she's thinking of when we worked together for a big.
Wait, you have an example
I'm
in mind?
I'm thinking of this principle applies to all the examples, but I think whenever I worked with you that one year where we did a lot of group projects together, I think we were also working with other friends that we all kind of knew. There weren't really any like people I was a stranger to or things like that, so I felt more comfortable kind of being a little bit more bossy, I guess. Whereas if I was working with strangers, I don't think that I would have been like, yeah, we need to get this done on this day, blah, yeah, all that.
That's true. I guess it does depend on who your group is.
The way I talk to, like if I'm in a class with someone over and over again and we're like, yeah, we're going to work on this group project, the way I talk to them versus the other people in the group that are like new is completely different. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I don't plan it out that much. I feel like what I do is I kind of just secretly do people's parts and add them in. And like maybe it's not a secret, maybe they know that and they're just, using that. But I feel like my strategy is to do little bits at a time and then to also just be like positive, like, oh, great job everyone, like things like that, you know what I mean? Just to be like, yeah, so I don't know.
I think it's definitely hard though, especially if you really don't know the person at all. And I think just with school, a lot of times people really don't care about their classes. They're doing it because they have to. They're doing it to get the minimum grade to pass to move on to the next class. So it's
which
not.
I get.
Yeah, I get it too.
I get it. Like if you don't care about an A, fine. But like.
But that's my problem. Yeah, it's a group project. If this were a solo thing, you'll take your C or your D or whatever. That's fine. That has nothing to do with me. But I think when you're in a group project, no matter how little or how much you care about the class, you at least owe it to the other people to give them a fair shot at a decent grade. If you want to do that to yourself, go ahead, but don't do it to me.
I think that a big part of that too, and this kind of comes off based off of different teachers' grading scales. But my favorite group projects are when teachers split the grade. So it's like half a group grade, then half an individual grade. Because like this past semester, I worked on kind of like a whole like semester long project with the same other 3 people, and 50% of that grade was a group grade, so we all got that same 50%. But then the other 50% was based off of like our individual contributions, and that was like kind of based off of like us telling the professor like, oh, I worked on this specifically in the project, I did this, and this, and then him grading those like individually. So I think that was a good system for kind of assessing group projects, because to kind of let those students who were more like okay with getting like a lower grade like that,
making sure they did something in advance so that they would have something to write.
But then it also didn't bring my grade down as much if they weren't putting in as much effort as I was per se.
I would say that's pretty fair.
And I'm thinking the teacher maybe does the individual first, so that when it comes to the group grade, you know what I mean? So that like maybe for the group grade they go a little easier, but on this individual grade they're like, oh, the group grade was low because of this part, and this one person did the whole part. So like, okay,
like I'm just gonna briefly trash someone in my group. But
well, that's the other thing. I feel like of the times I've been in a bad group, I'm always really hesitant to write poorly about them in the evaluation, just because I don't know. It's just, I don't know if I want to like type over. It seems petty. It seems really petty to just like type and say like this person sucks, blah blah blah, and then I think I'm scared of it reflecting bad on me. Like, what if my group members are not saying the same thing, and then I just look like someone who's trying to pin it on someone else?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a thing where, especially with group evaluations, I'm definitely hesitant, a little wary of like kind of putting those bad things out there, just because of, like you were saying, all those negative consequences that could arise from them.
And it's like, I'm sure if you're giving a good explanation as to like, oh, you know, I would text and they wouldn't text back or something like that, like I'm sure it's good. It's still tough.
Definitely.
I don't know. There's one kind of pet peeve that I hate, where someone in the group will go like, oh, who wants to submit it? And it's like, oh, well, you know, and because the first person that asks that is never the one to volunteer. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like they expect
by putting
someone
it out there,
else.
it's like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, why don't you just say, I'll submit it? You know what? I just absolutely hate that. It's like, we all know it's due Friday. We all know someone has to submit it. You didn't have to ask who's gonna submit it.
Like I hate submitting too.
Yeah,
but, like,
I do too.
where did that thing come from? All you're doing is like usually attaching a file to something and clicking
like,
submit. Why is
we all
everyone
hate
afraid
it,
to do it?
But it's not like that difficult or anything.
I think it's just like with submitting, then you're probably in charge of, let me do a final read through, let me make sure it looks okay. I think by submitting it, you're kind of taking the accountability, like, I looked everything over, it looks good, nothing needs to be changed. And I think a lot of people just want to do their part and then be done with it. I mean, that's kind of my thought too. I don't want to have to go through it and be held accountable if something bad.
It just really annoys me that when people do that though, because like I literally had, because for one of my group projects, we had like 2 big submissions during the semester, and then we started working on our second submission. We were kind of splitting up the work, and someone goes, "Oh, who wants to do the introduction?" Someone has the audacity to say, "Well, I submitted the last paper, so I should get the easy part."
That is not enough.
Yeah, it takes like 5 minutes to submit something.
That's
not a good excuse.
Well, I will say that I do hate when it's like, oh, who wants to submit? And like the final touches are kind of in the submit, where it's like, I have to like cut out everyone's like fluff and like, you know, URLs. It's like, can we not do that beforehand so that the person submitting is just literally submitting it? Like, if you're done writing your section, just remove all the trash, you know, remove the bullets and stuff, you know?
I agree.
Yeah. That always annoys me too.
When it comes to distributing work, I feel like I do this thing where if I know that someone in my group isn't necessarily the brightest or probably wouldn't be able to succeed.
No, yes, well, absolutely, yes.
Do you like give them the easier parts?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Do you, Anna?
I guess I'm trying. I don't know if I've really been recently in an experience where I feel like there's definitely a weakest link, because most of the time I don't really know the people, or at least in recent experiences.
Okay, well, let me ask this. Like, are you ever the leader? Like, do you step up? Are you the one assigning parts?
Depends on the situation, depending on who I'm with. Like, in the project I referenced earlier, that was like the semester long, I kind of had to do that because no one else was going to. So I think if I'm in a situation where like really no one else is doing anything, I can step up and do it. But I'm also fine with kind of taking the back seat and letting someone else delegate.
I think I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
Like, I'm not like, oh, I always have to be the group leader and be the project manager.
I don't have to be the group leader, but I don't mind being the group leader. I just, you know, I'm indifferent. But like once I'm the group leader, like my word is final. Like, this is what is being said. No one else is speaking up. So like, here we go.
Yeah, that's my other pet peeve with group projects. It's like, how is anything supposed to get done if no one's willing to contribute? No one's willing to say anything. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? You need to give me something to work with.
Yeah, like I get it. Like, it's hard being the first one to text, but like me saying like, oh, the 7:30 work should like lighten it up enough for you to respond, you know? Just be honest. It doesn't matter.
I had a great group experience this past semester too, where it was I think it was like a 5-week project or something like that. But like everyone was like texting back right away. Everyone was doing the work that they were responsible for. And I'm like, I shouldn't be this happy that people are doing what you're supposed to be doing when it comes to a group project.
Yeah.
When you guys do like presentations, is that always a big thing, being like, oh, who's going to present this, or like making the slideshow, things like that?
I think it depends on the assignment. Because this group project that I keep referencing, just because it's like really fresh in my mind, because it was just this past semester, there really wasn't that much debate over who was saying what and who was making slides for what, because we all did very separate parts, and I didn't know what they were talking about, and same for them. So it was pretty clear who was going to do what.
I understand that, like, oh, you did this part and I did this part, so like let's study our parts. Like, I get that's easy, and like, you know, I get it, but at the same part, I kind of regret that, because no offense, but I've been burned, and like I don't trust you. And it's like I want to be able to say what you're gonna say. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and it's like I understand, like, this is your part, but like
like if they don't do it justice, or like someone asks the question,
like I don't want to
target it toward the person who doesn't know what they're talking about.
And like no one wants to be the one to interrupt someone else's part and add something. You know what I mean? Like I just want to make sure we're all on the same page on information here. That's tough. I don't know.
Well, I just want to do a quick story time. Again, this group project, as Evan said, I was burned very badly by this project. But this one guy in the group, I kind of got a bad feeling from the minute he joined. I don't know, like I had recognized his name from a different class, and I kind of remember, like, I don't want to be rude, but I kind of just like wasn't impressed with him. He seemed like he was never prepared, just red flags kind of. So he's in the group, and like he shows up for the first couple meetings, and then he like doesn't come anymore, and even our in-class meetings he's not there, which is like, this is our class lecture and you're not here. Like,
and let me guess, this was online. Like,
even
easier
this was
just to show up.
Yeah, online. So he's like not coming, and then I'm texting him personally, and I'm like, what's up? Are you still in the group, or like what is going on? You're not showing up. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry, I've been MIA, but like I'll be at the next meeting. And meanwhile, we're still assigning him work. Like a fifth of this long assignment is his. So then, long story short, he like we're like down to the wire. The presentation's like the next day. We still can't get a hold of him. Hasn't done any of the like work. And then I text something like in the chat about the presentation, and he leaves our group chat. Still no word. Like, I'm dropped the class. I'm not, just nothing. And it was like, well, first of all, it's too late to drop the class at this point. So unless you dropped it and you just didn't tell us. So it's literally like the day of the presentation. Still haven't heard anything. We just present it without him. We leave his name off the paper. Like, what was that? It like, if you drop the class, whatever, that's your business. But you don't have the decency to at least tell your group, I'm not in the project anymore. Because the whole time we were assigning him work. So then at the end, it was like, well, now a fifth of this is not here.
Yeah. So did you guys end up doing it, or did you just not submit it?
Yeah, we covered for him, obviously, but it was just like, why did you do this to us? And this other kid, he literally starts writing his part of the paper maybe like 10:30, and the project's due 11:59, and this is like a maximum 20-page paper, so it's not like some light little assignment. And
I definitely would have been doing that MIA guy's part just a little at a time.
Well, I didn't
just out of habit for me,
because I mean, honestly, I didn't really care that much about this class, so I did my part, but I figured, you know what? I'm not going to cover for someone else. That's not my job, and frankly, I don't have the time or desire to compensate for someone. Why should I do that?
I wish I felt like that,
So, back to this guy. It's like 11:45, and it's due at 11:59, and he goes, can someone help me cite my sources? And I'm like, you have the audacity to ask someone to help you when it's due in 15 minutes, and you waited this long to start. So I was literally like so nervous that we were not going to finish. And I was thought we were going to have to submit it even without like half the references just to get something in. But then he eventually got it in, and I submitted it at like 11:54, and I was like, ugh, this took 10 years off my life.
Last year,
like you can't.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
I was just gonna say you can't submit it late because that's too many points off.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like 10% off the grade per day. It's late. It's a lot.
That's not acceptable. Okay, go ahead.
Last year, I had a similar experience with a different group and like a different class. This was more of like a lab class, so it kind of went across the whole semester. But for our final report that we had to turn in, it was like, I want to say it was like, yeah, it was about an 80-page paper because there's 20 pages per person out of 4 people. And this one person, not
naming names.
I almost said it.
But if you're listening, you know who you are.
Yeah, you know. But this one person, they literally, it was coming down to the wire, and then we get a text from them in the group chat. It was a Google Docs. It was about 60 pages at the time. The other person had none of their 20 pages in, and then they were like, "Oh yeah." Throughout like the semester, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing mine on a private Word doc for my own, and then I'll just put it in the doc later." And we're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
No,
I can't stand when people do that.
That's not even the problem.
And then it makes it sound like you're lying that you didn't do it at all, and then we can't see what you wrote.
Let's just break here. No, I don't care if you're doing your own work. It's a group project, and we all want to check each other's work. Okay, like it's not hard to share the doc, you know. And it's like, don't you want me to read over it and like
especially
take some of the load off and like help you out a little bit?
If someone takes the initiative to create a document, you don't have to do anything. Just put it in that document. Yeah. Don't be like, oh, I'll copy paste it later. No, you're not. You're never gonna do it later.
Yeah. Okay, so let's be clear. If you're in your own doc, we all think you're not doing it.
That's code for I haven't done it.
Yes. Okay. So just know that if you're gonna say that, then we're on to you and we're all mad at you.
You're not slick.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
So it was due at 11:59. It was probably around like 11:30 or so. We get a text from this person. They're like, "Yeah, I'm at a wedding right now, so I'll be able to work on it in a couple hours." And then we're like, hello, person. It's due in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes." And she's just like, "Yeah, it's fine. I'll just submit it late and email them. It'll be fine." And we're like, "No, that's like 10 points off. No." So then, as expected, they submit it like 2 hours late. Not even. It was like, I think it was like the next morning. So like 8 a.m. or something like that. So then I emailed, because I wasn't dealing with it, at like 11:50. I emailed the professor, and I was like, "Currently it's 11:50 and so-and-so has not done any of their work yet or put anything in the doc. I don't feel like it's fair to take off points from the rest of us, blah, 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 blah." So then basically I had to get the other 2 group members then to snitch on this girl to the professor and show that was like the truth. And it was just a whole thing. And it's like, why am I the one who's in charge of like getting everyone to snitch on this one girl just because you, who had over 10 weeks to work on this assignment, didn't start it until 30 minutes before it was due?
And it's tough because I'm constantly checking up throughout, the time, the assignment up until it's due. But it's like, you lie to me constantly, so then I can't actually tell on you to the teacher until it makes me look bad at 11:50, Because like, then it looks like, oh, we all waited to the last minute. But no, like, I just found out now that this wasn't going to happen.
It's just annoying the way it happens sometimes too, Like, group projects as a whole, I hate them. Let's just be clear. Like, I see their importance. Yeah. Whatever. You collaborate as an adult, blah, 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 blah. But group projects in school, the worst.
It's just, people are just different than actually in the workplace,
Because in the workplace, they know that, like,
and they're accountable.
They're going to get fired, or they won't make their money, blah, blah, blah. But for a group project, I don't know why people just don't care. They're like, yeah, I can take an F on this. I'm like, why? No.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure I'm learning anything that's going to help me in my career collaboratively,
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe, but like, I don't know.
No, I definitely agree.
Like, maybe I'll learn that on the job. I don't think I'm going to struggle texting someone, hey, this is due at 7. Are you going to get it done,
Well, and I think also in the workplace, like with the things I've experienced, like I can't do your job. Like you're a different department than me. Like even if I wanted to, I can't cover it. So I think there's just a lot more accountability and a bigger sense of responsibility, because it's not like, oh yeah, you don't have time for this, I got you. Like, no, I don't. I'm not an engineer. I don't know how to do the engineer's role.
And especially in a job, you have a boss. You know, you actually have someone that's reporting to you. But like in this group project, all you're reporting to is like a teacher, but it's like,
yeah,
that
and
doesn't
it's like
matter.
Peers,
that doesn't mean
so
anything.
It doesn't really seem like, it's like, oh yeah, we're just like they get it. I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah. I think we're starting to run out of time again, so you guys just want to rapid fire
Oh my gosh.
group project hot takes.
I don't know if I have. I feel like there's a lot more I could say, but I don't know if I have tips. But maybe you guys start and someone come to me if you have some.
It sounded like Dan had something in mind.
Yeah, Dan, do you have something in mind?
Okay. I think that first thing that comes to mind in terms of group projects is don't put them off to the last minute. Like, it's unfair to your group, it's unfair to yourself for having to kind of coordinate that whole thing at the end. So work on them like ahead of time. You don't have to get it all done immediately when it's assigned, but don't save it till like the night before, or God forbid, the hour before.
I'm trying to think of what else. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, I'm thinking like group chats. Like, I don't know. I feel like we already talked about please respond, and like if I ask for your number, like give me your number, okay? Like give me your email. I don't care.
If it's like a semester long project and you know you're going to be working with this group for a while and you can already see like major problems by week 1 and 2, talk to your professor or your TA. Don't wait until the last minute, because A, they won't be able to help you at the last minute because it'll be too late. They can't assign you a new group. And also B, they'll be like, well, why didn't you tell me earlier?
I feel like I still haven't learned that lesson yet, but
I think I'm just too like, I've definitely felt like this isn't working out. I should say something, but I'm just like too scared, because I guess I just feel like it makes me seem like maybe I'm hard to work with, or it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I guess here's one.
Oh, I have one. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. If you're in a group and you exit the class, or you can't be in the group, let them know.
Oh my God, Anna, I'm just thinking about that also happened in one of our big group projects that we worked on together. Someone just left our group without telling us.
But that was like really early, so it didn't get to a point where it was an issue.
I was gonna say, like, okay, I get it, your name's on your slide, but I will be changing things on it. And I expect you to look at my part too.
Oh. Yeah. Going off of that, it annoys me. Put the names in alphabetical order. Just because you're the person who decided to type in everyone's name doesn't mean that your name can go first.
Okay, well, I'd like to go on top of that. Unless the teacher requires your names on the presentations, do not put your names on the presentation. I don't care what your name is. That's my personal pet peeve.
I hate it when you're in a class. Like, I think it's fine to put like presented by and then the group members. But I hate when people will present and they're like, they start off with like, hi, my name's
oh my God,
blah blah blah, and then the whole team introduces. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
you wasted 2 minutes of your presentation time.
Counter
especially in
that,
online. It's like, I don't know you.
Just to counter that, I like doing that, so you can still do it, and I'll still respect you. Anna won't, though.
No,
I think that's so embarrassing to get up there and be like,
okay.
Hi,
when you're in an
Anna.
actual job, though, you have to do that.
No, you don't. If you're in a presentation, like, they don't care what your name is. They care what your pitch is. And it's like, by that time, they probably already know what your name is. Like, oh yeah, Doug's giving the presentation at 5, you know?
Read the situation, go from there, but don't always not do it.
Okay, well, let me say this. I don't care what your presentation is. If it has a paragraph on it, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're reading off of it, you're doing it wrong.
Conversely, if there's just random images that you don't apply whatsoever, you're also doing it wrong.
I don't care about your stock image of some... I don't like if we're in chemistry and you just put an atom up for some reason. I don't care. That
a clip art.
I'm deleting that when you get off the slide.
Like a Google image that still has the word like stock, like Shutterfly or something like that.
It's like the watermark on
it. It's the worst.
Yeah. I honestly think we covered a lot about group projects.
Yeah, we did.
I feel like I get this every week, but I get heated after these. It's like all of like my war flashbacks.
Because we're not talking about like, fun things. We're talking about pretty, I don't know.
Group projects can be really good though. So
yes.
just make sure that you're doing your best and that you're doing your best to make sure your group is doing their best.
I think we've all had some good experiences, I'm sure, but I think the bad outweighs the good, and hopefully we can give some tips on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had like the greatest experience ever where I was like, this is just the best thing ever, but I've definitely had like experiences where stuff didn't go terribly wrong. So I guess that's like a good experience, but I would still probably choose to do something alone versus in a group, even if it was the best group.
I think I agree. I would, if the teacher gives me a choice, I'm probably doing it alone if I can. Yeah.
I agree, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
Be sure to like and follow our podcast on whatever platform you're currently listening to it on.
Check out our social media, linked in the description, and tune in next week for even more advice.
TTYL
from IFL.
Bye!